Hey everyone, this is Pete. Welcome back to Sunday Driving, and we're going to be having another go at Auto Modellista by Capcom, because I've been enjoying this game, and I'd like to see a bit more of it. So we've been playing the Garage Life mode, which is basically sort of Gran Turismo light. So you get a car, you unlock upgrades for it, you race it, and that's about it really. So, last time around we completely cleared the level 1 and level 2 races. And we're on level 3 at the minute. Level 3 requires us to win at least 2 of these races, but we've determined that it's actually worthwhile clearing all of them because that unlocks some other cars and some other customization options for your garage and your car and that sort of thing. So we'll do a few more of these. So we'll do the Rocco Hill climb challenge first. So I'll just back out of here for a sec and apply the appropriate tuning. So Rocco Hill uphill. We'll go for average performance because that seems to be doing things nicely. I'm going to try slightly more drifty this time. See what difference that makes. Probably not a great deal in the Yaris, which is not particularly designed for drifting anyway, but we'll see if it has an impact on the handling. Alright. Onward. Check it out. Okay, so the downhill or uphill courses are all very sort of initial D style, very twisty turny courses. They're a lot of fun to race so far. And obviously they're point-to-point races rather than drift may have been a mistake. So I'm not quite sure of how the handling model in this handles drifting. Do you have to brake for it, or do you just do Ridge Racer style? Well, we're coping so far. So those initial corners were a bit messy. Yeah, as I was saying, the hill climb and hill descent races are all point-to-point races, as you might expect. There's no means of sort of doing laps of them. They're just nice long races with lots of corners. And so with the sort of stereotypes of this kind of race from things like Initial D and such like, I thought the drift handling would be appropriate, if apparently not all that practical in this car. But we'll see. We're hanging in there. Got to get in front of this guy and stay ahead. Bit of dirty driving never hurt anyone. I say it every time when I'm playing this game, but yeah, the handling of the DualShock vibration in this game is so good. Just feeling every bump in the road as you go across them. Alright, that wasn't too bad. But I think next time we do a course like that, we will just stick with what we know, which is Grip Plus. Alright, what's next? Congratulations! New parts. You made it! So we have unlocked level 4. We'll leave that for a sec because we've got some other races in here. We've got the Highway Challenge Cup on Osaka Highway there. Let's do that one next. That should be a nice speedy one. I'd actually like to take a quick look at some of these customization options we've unlocked though. We've not really done... I think max speed double plus for that, surely. And a bit of grip. Yeah, let's do a bit of dress up. So what have we got in here? So those are still just the stripes. I'm not a big fan of stripes on cars, so we'll leave that. Let's have a look at the parts. What hoods have we got now? Got one with a bit of a vent in it. That's quite nice. Auto Modellista original. So this is not based on a particular brand. This is one they created specifically for the game. Let's have that one. Mirrors. I quite like those ones, the original ones again. I'm going to end up with a completely Auto Modellista car, aren't I? What are we doing here? Front bumper. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, we'll go for that one. Side skirts. Yeah, Unico Zone again. It's a fat back end. Yeah, it's got to be that one, isn't it? Clearly. Putting a spoiler on a Toyota Yaris seems a bit... That's the ultimate in boy racer there. Let's go for that one. It's a little bit more subtle. Oh my god. 108 different wheels. Well, do we go for cool looking or horrendous taste? Oh, those are quite cool. Yeah, let's have some of those. Oh, cannot be equipped on this car. Then why are you showing them to me? That'll do. It's not very helpful to show all those parts and not allow me to use half of them. The lights. We have slightly surprised face car. Oh, frowny car. Frowny car. It's got to be frowny car. Okay. Colour. I'm happy with the red, so we'll leave that. Let's put some stickers on. I'm not going to draw my own one because you don't need to see me doing a clumsily drawn knob. Which, let's face it, is what the custom art mode will descend into. And what have we got now? Quite a few of these now. Let's have... I have a classic Capcom logo, there we go. Right, I think I figured out the problem I was having this first time I did this, is that if you look at the description at the bottom, it tells you can place a particular type of sticker there, and all of the zones on the car that have that type of sticker use the same sticker. So if I choose rear bumper there, whatever I pick here will also go on the side. So I need to pick Capcom here. Otherwise it will change what's on the side as well. However, if you look at window, this is logo stickers rather than art stickers. So this is something different that won't affect the rest of the car. Capcom logo for this one? No, alright, let's advertise ourselves then. Side one, that's another logo sticker can go there. Bumper can have a logo. Okay, so there's basically two types of stickers. You can have the art stickers and the logo stickers. And using that sample function, you can apply it to all of the possible places you can apply each of them. That's alright. That's not quite as much customization as I'd like from something like this, but it'll do. You've got the actual customization of the parts though, which is fine. It at least allows you to sort of take a bit of ownership over what your car looks like. If you're like me, you're probably playing from the cockpit view anyway. I am going to save that. Just there. Yes. And if you recall, if you don't do that, if you change cars, that if you try and go back to that car, it will just give you like these stock specifications, which you don't want. So you save your tuned car, and that saves all your customizations and your parts and your dress-up parts as well. So, all right, let's go race. Highway challenge number 2. Our fancy new car.
Keep rocking, baby.
This track reminds me of Tokyo Highway Challenge, which is a game I really enjoyed on the Dreamcast. I haven't been able to reacquire a copy of it recently. I'd like to pick that up. I've got the PS2 version, which I believe is the game after the Dreamcast version. But I've got fond memories of specifically the Dreamcast version, because that's the one I played years ago. And I remember it not being received all that well. But I really enjoyed it, just because it had this really interesting way of handling how the races work. So it's not just a straight race of get to the front of the pack and stay there. Well, it is sort of, but the way it's implemented is, rather than just having a race over a set distance, you've got fighting game style energy bars, and if you're out in front, you're depleting your opponent's energy bar, and the further ahead you are, the more quickly that bar depletes. I just thought that was a really interesting way of handling sort of one-on-one races. And then that game had a really detailed sort of car upgrading system. I can't remember if there was much in the way of sort of visual customization and things, but there was certainly a lot of buying and upgrading parts and improving your performance and gradually taking on more and more powerful opponents as you work through the game. So at some point I'll try and reacquire that, and that will probably form part of this series, I imagine. If not, like I say, I've got the PS2 version, so I will give that a go at some point as well. In the meantime, though, we're playing this. And as before, this highway race is rather easy. Max speed was a good choice, because this is all long straights and a few not terribly tight corners. So even though the old Yaris isn't the fastest of cars, it is performing more than adequately at the moment. In fact, saying that, with the latest upgrades, it's going almost as fast as that Super we tried in the previous episode. Although if we applied those same new upgrades we've got to that Super, that would be going even faster by this point, so never mind. In some ways, I'm quite keen to see how far I can go with this shitty car. That was always a thing I enjoyed about, like I said in the first episode we were looking at this, it was a thing I always enjoyed about the Need for Speed Underground series, was taking a really crap car, like a Peugeot 106, which is what I was driving in real life at the time, and making that do things it wasn't really designed to do. Like, you know, go fast. Or go round corners. Yeah, that was the last of the cars I had that didn't have power steering. It was also a car that in the morning would sometimes just inexplicably fill up with water. I don't know how that happened, because there wasn't any obvious places that water was leaking in from, but some mornings you just come in and just like the footwell would be full of water. It was a bit disconcerting the first time it happened, but after I bailed it out and discovered it was still operating absolutely fine, it just became something I had to live with for a little while. We eventually traded that one in, along with the car my wife had at the time. We traded both of them in towards her new car, which is still going strong at the moment and doesn't fill up with water in the mornings, which is nice. Alright, what's next? Urban Challenge Cup 2, Tokyo Area 1. That's the non-rainy one. Yeah, yes, because the last one in that series is the rainy one. Right. Tune it up. Tokyo 1. We'll stick with average. Bit of grip. Yes. I probably only need to do this once, don't I? Oh well. It's happened now. I do like the music and sounds on this. It's sort of quintessential PS2 era Capcom. But quite arcadey. This sort of jazzy feel. And as I was talking about with my podcasting partner Chris, this very much has a authentic Capcom announcer in it, spouting complete gibberish at random times. I think the strangest thing I've heard him say is just, "Don't be silly!" Alright, Mr. Capcom. I won't be silly.
3, 2, 1.
Alright. This is a pretty course. I always like nighttime courses. Because there's something that can be made to look good without too much sort of technological oomph required, because you can sort of have stuff going off into the darkness and you don't need sort of hyper levels of detail on buildings and stuff like that. Oh, where's the road gone? Yeah, you don't need hyper levels of detail on buildings, that sort of thing. You can just have them lit up. So here, because the graphics are so stylized anyway, and it's such sort of high contrast extremes of light and dark, you can see that most of those buildings, they have really no detail on them whatsoever, and it's just the lit up windows you can see, and that looks really striking and effective. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the way this game looks. It's talking to Chris, he said that this was sort of one of the showcase games that they would put on in a game store at the time when it was originally released, and that's entirely understandable, because I mean, look at it. Imagine seeing this running on a TV in a game store back in 2002. It was beautiful. Unfortunately, from what I've read, that didn't really translate into a lot of sales, which is a bit of a shame. From what I've learned, this game was an attempt by Capcom, or it was originally intended, I should say, as an attempt by Capcom to sort of get into the online gaming market. You've probably noticed that there's no online mode in this whatsoever. There was a later re-release of this with some additional content and the online mode added back in. But this was originally released alongside Monster Hunter and Resident Evil Outbreak, was it? That was the multiplayer one, I think, wasn't it? And yeah, Capcom was hoping that at least one of them would prove to be a big hit. And that, of course, turned out to be Monster Hunter, which is still going strong today. Auto Modellista, from what I can make out, was by far the poorest performing of that particular batch of 3 games, which is a real shame, really, because it's... no, I don't think it deserves to. I don't know if I want to say fail, because, I mean, it's still here, it's still playable, people still like it. But if you look back at reviews from the time, it got pretty mediocre reviews, which is a real shame, really. Because revisiting it now, in 2018 at the time of recording, it's enjoyable. Very playable. Very slick. And not overly complicated as well, which is nice. Which I think is where part of the criticism came from in the first place. Because it sort of combines the sort of Gran Turismo, Forza Motorsport customization. I think people were expecting a game with a bit more depth and realism to its driving mechanics, whereas instead what they got was something that is very, very arcadey. Which, like I said before, is absolutely fine by me, because arcadey racing games are my preference. But I think for someone picking this up, expecting cel-shaded Gran Turismo, I can sort of understand why they might have been disappointed, but at the same time, that's just another lesson in why you should try not to go into things with too many preconceptions of what you think they're going to be. In some respects, I mean, Capcom probably bear some blame for that if they marketed it as basically cel-shaded Gran Turismo. I'm not exactly sure how the marketing went for back at the original time of release, but it's entirely possible that Capcom set some unrealistic expectations. But even then, it's sort of in the interests of... Oh dear, I forgot rain requires brakes, doesn't it? It's sort of in the interests of both players and reviewers to try and go in with as few preconceptions as possible. As that way they can just judge it on its own merits and not judge it compared to what they thought it was going to be. Because a lot of the time I found that when something ends up being not what I expected, it actually leaves a much stronger, more positive impression on me. Just because I went in expecting one thing and got something else, and that made me take notice. That made me pay attention to it. In the case of this, I expected to boot it up for the first time, be impressed by the graphics, and maybe not enjoy the actual driving side of things that much. But just a couple of minutes of actually playing it revealed it's something I enjoy very much indeed. So there's your lesson for today. It's a lesson I like to repeat quite frequently. It's a lesson that Chris likes to repeat quite frequently on the podcast as well, so it's good advice though. Because if nothing else, if you go into something with no expectations, you can never really be disappointed, can you? Well, I mean, you can if it's shit, but if you try, you can find value in most things. It's pretty rare you come across something that is completely and utterly irredeemably awful. Oh, shit. That's what I get for rambling again. Pipped at the finish line. Quite literally. Right, let's do that again. do like the fact there's instant restarts in this. It's not something you can necessarily rely on in racing games, particularly from sort of the PS2 and PS3, Xbox 360 eras. And it doesn't seem to be a sort of graphical detail or course length thing either. It just seems to be related to how efficiently the game's been programmed, how well it's been put together. There's a thing that makes a lot of games, a lot of simpler games, very addictive, is the ability to jump right back in there and try again. And if you followed any of my discussions of the Philips G7000 video pack computer, or the Odyssey 2 to you Americans, you'll know that's a big part of the core design of those games. Those are games from sort of the late 70s and early 80s. And a huge number of them, especially the single-player centric ones like Munchkin and Satellite Attack and Crazy Chase, all of those are designed in such a way that there's no sort of there's no gap between the end of a game and the start of the next one. So in all of those games you have one life. As soon as you lose that life, you get a moment to acknowledge your score, enter your name if it was a high score, and then it's straight back into the game. There's no title screen, there's no "do you want to continue?" Nothing like that. It's straight back in. And that makes it immensely addictive. It works for stuff like this too. It's like if you had to endure a minute-long loading break just when you wanted to retry, yeah, that might not be something you'd be inclined to do. But if you can just restart immediately, then yeah, why not? Give it another go. Okay, I think we are done with level 3. I'm not sure how many levels there are in total, actually. Another car, more items, more stickers. Okay, so that is all clear. Alright, let's have a go at a level 4 race, and then we'll call that a day from here. Okay, so we have a series of races now. Okay, let's try the Akagi Masters Cup. Oh, does it not tell us whether it's uphill or downhill? Okay, well. Let's tune it for uphill. That should give us a bit more power. And we'll go for grip this time. Let's see if the Yaris is still competitive. So okay, 2 more races and then we'll call it a day for today, because it's a series of races here. So
keep rocking, baby.
Are you going up or down? Down, of course. Oh well, I'm sure it'll be fine. I like this track. This is the one with the really cool colour scheme. Just that sort of purple tinted sky and the golden brown of the leaves. And those god rays from the sun. Just looks great. Oh, not doing too well. And our opponents are significantly stronger from the look of things. Yeah, this is going to be tough. There's still time though. Ooh, that's not going to help though. Yeah, this is much more challenging. Get out of the way! Oh, hello. It's first place there. Oh no, that's second place. Because I'm still in last. It is not going too well. Oh dear. No, I'm gonna start again. Oh, you can't. Shit. How do you reverse? Oh well, I'm definitely not gonna win now. I'm gonna drive down the rest of the road with my hazards on. Because I can. Well, that was horrific. Don't really want to record my time there. That was bad. Oh well. Let's see what happens next. Oh, you don't get a retry option either. You have to do the whole series in one go. Alright. Well, let's see how it goes this time. Now, is this going to be uphill? Is the question. It would make sense. Yes. So you get down, then up. Worth remembering. I potentially have the chance to redeem myself if I don't make too much of a hash of this uphill stage. However, that is a bit of a big ask, I think. Kind of tricky to tell whether it's a matter of my car not being up to the job and needing to use a better one, or if it's, well, I mean, obviously my skills suck, but I don't know. Maybe that's a question to answer in the next episode. Yeah, we're struggling a bit here. So even with a bunch of upgrades, we're not really able to keep up with those other guys. We can get around the corners, no problem, but they go blasting off on the bits where you actually have the opportunity to accelerate a bit. And yeah, we're just not gaining on them. Well, we wanted to know what level 4 was like. This is what level 4 is like. There we go. Absolute disaster for both rounds. But now we know. Third best time though. Actually better than my previous time. So I was going faster, but the opponents were going more faster than I was. No prize for me. I still got some stuff though. Right, okay, I think that's enough of that for today. So, next time around we will try that again, but we'll see if there's a car that's more up to the job. So, this is Auto Modellista by Capcom, a 2002, this is a PS2 version. It did come out for a couple of other platforms as well, I think Xbox and GameCube as well. Those versions came out a little bit later. But this is the PS2 version we're playing here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please help out the channel by leaving a like or a comment and subscribing. Be sure to check out moegamer.net for new articles on Japanese and Japanese-inspired video games, new and old, every weekday. Every month, Moe Gamer features an in-depth exploration of an individual game or series as its cover game, so be sure to check the archives to see if your favourite has had a deep dive yet. If you'd like to support the site directly, please consider becoming a patron or buy me a coffee. You can find links to do both down in the video description. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.